I want to thank you, Will, for taking the time to come in here.
Of course.
Now, for those people that are watching this podcast for the first time or that don't know our relationship, I taught you when you were a little kid.
You were, you did, that's right. I think it was 5 or 6?
Five or six, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
I think I taught you before you had a little sister.
I did, it was that, that's right,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's been a while.
And I've known your father for a long time, and your mother.
Mm-hmm.
Your father is quite the personality.
He is.
He's quite the personality.
I've learned more.
I'm telling you that, Bill. So I'm just going to watch this. That's for you. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah, he is. Definitely.
He's a good man.
He is.
You know, your father for a long time, before we get into you, because I know something of you, but everyone has to know you. Your father, I really didn't know anything about him, to be honest. I just know he liked playing squash here at TAC, and I wasn't even a staff. I was staff then, but I was not a member.
Mm.
But he was always friendly. He always spoke to me, even though some of it was rude, but he was nice.
Right.
When I heard him speak, I think you came to it. It was at the top of TAC.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He blew me away.
Right.
The way he articulated the point, the amount of information he came out with, and how precise he was, I had complete respect for him. I said, this guy can turn it on either way.
Yeah.
He can kid with you, but when it comes to really doing his job, there was no one better.
Yeah.
It was so good. What did he do? Let me sit on that.
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I think he started off, he's the market research guru of Japan, I think.
That's right.
Yeah. And I think he worked for Stirling Winthrop afterwards, and it's mainly in the pharmaceutical area, but I think in terms of Japan, aging society, healthcare, and research, he's very data-oriented, market research kind of delivery of his facts, and that's what he does. Yeah, and
he married well too.
He did.
Because your mother's an artist. I mean, she's really, really artistic.
She is an artist. She's an oil painter. She's a handful, like all moms are. But they met in Perth many years ago. Well, not many years ago, but many years ago. And I think my dad came back to Japan first because my mother's side, my grandfather, my mother's side was was the consul general for Perth at the time. That's where they met. And my dad was, I think, studying or teaching Japanese at University of Western Australia. And then they met there, and then they came back. I think he came to Japan in 1969, I think. And he's been here ever since.
That's interesting. But see, when people look at you, because I look at you too, even as a little kid, you take more after your dad.
More recently,
because people cannot tell that you have Asian blood if they don't really understand.
That's true. They
wouldn't know.
Yeah, and I think I used to look more Asian.
You did.
Younger.
As a little kid. But then, boom, boom,
boom,
you started looking more like your dad.
Yeah.
Poor son. Your son is so. And he named you. He gave you the same name too.
Well, I'm actually William Hall. Like the 5th or 6th or something.
Oh, so they couldn't really. His family's not really creative.
No, well, I'm not very creative at all in that sense. My grandfather told me, "You got to keep trying until you have a son, and make sure you name him William."
But he had you. You were the first child.
I was. So I have a son. Right. So his name is Sky, but it's William Sky Kawabata Hall. Yeah.
So, but your father gave you his full name. So you're not.
Well, I have two middle names because I think William Hall is a very kind of common name in Australia. So William David Yoshihiro Hall, and then I have a Kawabata.
Yoshihiro is your mother's maiden name.
Yoshihiro is my Japanese first name.
Okay.
Maiden name is Kawabata. So,
Kawabata.
Yeah. So I was definitely I had the longest name at my high school. Kind of.
You used all of that.
Well, except for Kawabata.
Kawabata. You didn't use your mother's maiden name.
But my full name was William David Yoshihiro Hall.
Because she took her husband's name.
She did.
And that wasn't easy at that time.
That wasn't easy at that time, I guess. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And she made that leap.
She did. Yeah. Yeah.
That's something, yeah. I'm giving you five. I'm just teasing you, Bill.
That's all right.
I'm teasing your father.
Let's tease him more. Let's tease him more. No one teases him enough.
So where were you born? Tell me where you were born.
I was born in Tokyo, Japan. I was raised, I guess, initially in Tomigaya, Shibuyaku area. So, Tokyo city boy, I guess.
Right, you are.
Yeah. And grew up in kind of Shibuya and Hiro area.
You only went to international schools, or did you?
I only went to international school. They threw me in at age 2 at ASIJ.
ASIJ, right?
Yeah. So it was the Meguro campus at the time. Nakameguro campus, right. Yeah. And then all the way through high school.
So you went all the way through?
I did. I did attempt. In 6th grade, I thought I wanted to try something different. So I did go to boarding school. I did a short stint in boarding school in Perth, thinking that it was the...
What year? How old were you?
I was 12 at the time.
12. You wanted to do this?
I thought I wanted to do it.
So what happened?
Well, so we'd go visit Australia every year, and during the summer, and I thought, I wanted to try something different. But so there was a boarding school, I was into sports, and it was big field, and I was like, Dad, Mom, I want to try boarding school. It seemed like a great idea, but I was too much of a chicken to go by myself, so I dragged one of my friends with me.
Okay.
But it was all boys in the country, sir, yes, sir, got to make your bed a certain way, uniform, school wear. Great experience. I mean,
all 2 days. Right?
Yeah, it was literally about 3 months, maybe. I was like, I called home crying, saying, I got to go home. And they're like, "Will we pay for your tuition?" I was like, no. So I attempted that, but it was a great experience, and in that sense as well, because I was raised in a bubble. I think in the international school, I was very lucky to be the way I've been raised, and then going out in the country. That's where I really I've always dealt with. Not racism, but I think I'm growing up in Japan in the 80s, being half, that's but you're surrounded by half people, so that's fine. And I shouldn't even talk about racism with you, but I think, but I think it's, when I went to Australia, to the countryside, it was a completely Caucasian group of people.
Okay. And they could really tell?
Well, they could. I mean, they'd pick on the more Asians, and it was. I mean, that was in the 80s too. So, but I think I knew how to maneuver. Had all the best music. So you knew how to kind of gain the respect of. I'd kind of trade my music to the tough guys to make sure I'm protected. But I was street smart that way from a young age. So, but I saw that face to face where teachers and everything. So that 3 or 4 months was a great experience, and I've always kind of looked back on that too.
Yeah. Glad you got out of it.
Yeah, I'm glad I got out of it. I would have forgotten my Japanese. I think I wouldn't. Okay. I think that was a stupid idea to go in the first place, because I would have just been.
But how were you? Because ASIJ is noted for teaching Japanese.
Yeah.
Your father was doing. I mean, who was doing it? Your mother? How were you learning the Japanese?
Well, I think through school. I mean, I think.
Really?
I mean, ASIJ's Japanese is probably not at the level. Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably it's probably better now, but I think one of my complexes, I think, is I speak native Japanese, but I think it got better when I started working here in Japan, because I think they don't teach you keigo, they don't teach you, and so it's rough, the Japanese. But I think the Japanese got better as I kind of came back to Japan afterwards as well, started working in Japan.
So when you left ASIJ, what were the studies that you were most interested in?
Well, what I did was I wanted to go to school in the States, so in junior year we kind of not backpack, but I think did college hopping around the U.S., East Coast, West Coast, even to the South, like Nashville. I looked at Vanderbilt, to Emory, to everywhere. Then stumbled into Santa Barbara, and I was like, I think that this is it. And so it was on the beach. It was kind of a party school, but they claim they have a pretty good education there. So I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do, but I loved movies and film and content. So I thought that's what I wanted to do, but I didn't want to do film studies as a major, because I didn't want to take the risk of just taking a film studies major. So I studied business economics, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I took as many film courses as possible in Santa Barbara, yeah.
Well, how was your father guiding? Was your father and mother, did they try to guide you in one way or the other? Or
No, not at all. I think throughout my whole life, they haven't really pressured me in terms of education or studying. Or I think the one thing my father always said, this is what I kind of respect him for, is I don't really care about your grades. I don't really care what the books you study and everything. It's like learn how to think as a person. Like have your own opinion. Everything else you can kind of figure out. I think they read the same books at Harvard or Yale or anything else, and there's different teachers. But learn how to think for yourself and mingle, kind of thing, and get to know people. So that was it. Kind of. I think I mingled a bit too much my sophomore year in college, where my grades started to drop down. Then just make sure you graduate, kind of thing. But yeah,
he was that way. That's how he would be.
He was pretty casual that way. Yeah. And I think that he was the same way with my sister as well. And my sister had like straight A's, so that was.
It's a girl-boy thing, though.
Yeah, maybe.
Girls are just naturally smarter and quicker than guys.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Tell me this. So, what's your sister doing now?
Oh, she works for a company called Tastemade, which is an online kind of streaming platform for kind of lifestyle and food, culinary. And she's the brand content strategy director there now, I think. I placed her there, actually.
Is it actually here in Japan?
Here in Japan. I think they're a startup here.
So did she ever go to the States?
She went to NYU.
NYU?
Yeah, she went to NYU. So she had a very different East Coast experience.
Okay.
Where I was kind of beach lifestyle, and she was kind of continuation of Tokyo to New York kind of thing.
And what did she study?
I'm not sure. Independent studies, I think.
Independent studies, okay. And she you're married? Is she married?
Well, I'm separated. Okay. Yeah, but I'm married, and so we're kind of. I have my son is. I have a 8-year-old son, and it's basically with me 80% of the time.
Okay, but he's with his mother some of the time.
Sometimes, yeah. So a couple of days a week over at mother's place. So we've been separated about 6-7 years now.
But it's amicable.
It's amicable. So
That's
we'll be coming to TAC tomorrow for breakfast together, we're I think throughout the pandemic, I think it was probably better this time around. I think that we're already separated.
Yeah, because that would have made you for sure go crazy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is she Japanese, man?
She's Japanese, yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Is your sister married?
She is. She has 3 kids too. Yeah.
So you've been an uncle for a while.
I've been an uncle the same. My son and her son is the same age, so they're best friends and cousins. So
that's
neat. So it's cool. Yeah.
And she lives. All of you live in Tokyo?
Yes. Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah. So
what is it? That smacks of great parenting, I think, because as a parent, I think that's one of our dreams, that our kids want to be close to you.
Right.
And I think it really hurts when you have your child leave you, unless you're that type. Right. Some people like to separate, but I mean, for me, I'm so proud and so happy my sons want to live close.
Right.
That makes me feel really good.
Yeah, no, we were a close, tight family. Yeah, we're a tight family, yeah.
So you think with growing up in Japan, you felt like it was a bubble, in a way, looking out the outside. What do you mean? When you say a bubble, how do you...
Well, I think I was raised with bilingual, bicultural, half Japanese, half somebody, or expats from overseas, and people come and go 30% of your class leave every year. And so you're in this community growing up in Japan that is English-speaking community within Tokyo, which is, and we kind of, that group of people grew up together, which is very different from everything in Japan. And so that was an interesting...
How is it different? What do you mean?
Well, I mean, I think the education is different. I think you stand out. I mean, growing up, we kind of stand out. Every time we come home on the train, back in the day, I think, and we'd be pretty noisy and everything too. So
and you had ASIJ backpacks, and everybody knew you weren't going to Japanese school.
But someone will always say, every day there'll be something that someone will kind of start talking some smack about to us, or start picking
really?
up. Yeah, every day.
Like what? Give me something.
Well, that will be loud, so there'll be...
of course.
Yeah, we'll be loud, so they'll be like, they'll tell us, shut up, Gaikokujin, or...
they would say, Urusai. Wouldn't they just say Urusai?
Oh, Urusai. Well, they'll say, because we'll be speaking in English,
right,
and they won't realize we'll speak Japanese. So there'll be a lot of that, and because ASIJ is on the way back from the tracks.
So you're talking about Tamabuchi Bullet?
Yeah.
So that train?
That train, we get a lot of that, and the Chuhosen, we'll get a lot of... We get a lot of people because they're coming home drunk from the racehorsing as well.
That's true.
Yeah.
So, but that's if you guys are coming back late from school, because they don't come back.
Yeah.
If you stayed after school and stayed.
But even around 3 or 4.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, maybe it was just us, but I think but yeah, we get a lot of that.
That's interesting.
Yeah, which was it goes both ways. I think we were. I regret being a bit too loud on the trains as well. So
not really. You had a good time.
I wouldn't regret it. But I see these kids now and I want to smack them. But like, no, I'm just kidding.
That's interesting as a kid because I taught at ASIJ. If you know that, I taught at the Chilford campus.
Yeah.
I taught there for 3 years, so I've been on the Tamabuchi Bullet.
Right.
And I've been on the bus coming back and forth. That's how I found out about TAC.
Right.
It was interesting. When the kids were around me, they knew I was a disciplinarian, so they were pretty quiet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I really stand out.
Yeah.
There's no mistaking that I'm a foreigner, so I made sure everybody was pretty quiet. But that's interesting to hear that part. I've never heard that.
Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, I think it was those days too. I think maybe not as much these days as well because you have cameras and everything else. But like,
that's right.
Yeah, but we get a lot of people just kind of pick fights with us for no reason.
Kids?
No, grown men. Grown men. I think in the 30s and 40s will kind of come.
But you guys were already teens. You mean we
were already teens. We were already teens.
Not when you were little kids. You're talking about when you were big.
We're already about 14, 15.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's not a good thing. I think I might take all this out. No, I'm just kidding.
That's right.
Anyways, so how did you get into what you're doing now? How did you get into this profession?
I kind of stumbled into it. I mean, I think...
which is, first explain what you do.
Yeah, so I'm in executive recruitment here in Japan. So I specialize in... me personally, I specialize in the consumer sector, where that can be everything from entertainment to FMCG to fashion retail clients to consumer technology companies and trying to find executives and bilingual executives for them. So there's a lot of recruitment professionals in Japan, but so I didn't know what recruitment was when I graduated from college, and I was trying to figure out what to do. I stumbled into it when I came back to Japan. It was my second job.
What was the first job?
I worked for Terry Lloyd at Japan Inc. magazine. Yeah,
he's a good guy.
He was a good guy. So that was my first job here in Japan.
He's a good guy.
He is a good guy. He is a good guy. But taking a step back, though, my first job was after graduating. I went to San Francisco with my 1-year practical training visa. Worked for a company called Marcus Evans, and I was doing telephone calls. Into trying to sell $100,000 packages on the phone. I had no PC. It was just like cold calling. Cold calling.
How long did you do that?
About a year, a little less than a year. And so it was 200 phone calls a day, 7:30 in the morning.
Oh, they gave you an amount?
Well, I had a guy to go through, kind of look at the research, and I just gotta try to call the worldwide sales head of Alcatel and get through gatekeepers. They told me to use an English accent because I can probably maneuver that way too. So that was the worst job in the world, but it was the greatest. Strong. It made me strong, exactly.
And everything you stopped taking it personally.
Exactly.
It's hard to, though, isn't
it? It was the first month or so, and I was like, I'm not sure if I'm meant for it. But then after a while, you get, you
don't get so many hang-ups in your face.
Yeah, and I think you get used to it. And that was my personality as well. It's like, I can't be worried about every rejection I get. And then when I got into recruitment, I'm not selling anything. I'm not actually saying, please buy this. It's more,
I'll help you.
I'll help you. Yeah, and so that was a different kind of conversation. It's what's the worst that can happen?
You get mad at me for helping you?
Exactly. But I didn't think I was going to be in this position for long. I've always wanted to be in the entertainment or media industry. So I joined a company called Hudson at the time, kind of looking after consumer and entertainment practice. Thinking I'll probably be here for a year and then I'll probably go into like a Disney or Warner Brothers at the time because they weren't hiring entry-level candidates at the time. Okay. But then I realized I love the job, so it's I love it. You do? I do, yeah.
What about it that really?
Well,
tell me this first. When did it start to hit you that I like this?
Well, I'd say the first 3 to 6 months. It just came natural. It was meeting people, it was talking like this to people. And I didn't think of them as candidates or clients, but just people. And then I get to talk to people every day, and help them. And then it's quite a good living as well. So then, before I knew it, I started really liking the job and be able to look from the outside in to each company, how it's structured and everything else. So then I realized I'd rather be on the outside, looking in and helping craft organizational development for companies and people. And working on multiple different types of searches that kind of made me excited about it. Yeah.
So then you started your own. You were working for someone else though.
Yeah. So I started at Hudson, and then I went to a small boutique called Robert Leonard Consulting for 4 years, and then 5 years there. and I was running Atlantic Consulting for the last 3 of those years, and then, but I was still. How
did that happen? How did you end up running that?
Well, I think that the president at the time, she, for family reasons, moved back to Germany, and she wanted someone to take over the business, and she wanted to kind of let go of her business. So I kind of stepped up. I thought it'd be a good experience at the age of 28. But it was great. It was 28 to 31, I think. But I wanted to get more. I want to be a sponge and take more and get more experience at that age. And so I was lucky enough to be kind of approached by Talent 2, which was an Australian-based executive recruitment firm, to run that for 5 years. And that was great experience.
So what did you do with the one? You just told her, I'm sorry?
Well, I passed it over to someone else. Well, yeah. So it wasn't actually my company, but I was kind of appointed representative director for some time. Yeah.
Right. Mm. So this new company you went with?
Yeah, I went with Talent 2 for now it's called the Aligis Group. It was acquired by an American company, but I joined to kind of grow the consumer practice and other practices. Mm-hmm. And kind of run and grow the business in Japan. And that was 2011, right after the earthquake. Yeah. So that was, but it was a great experience working for a big company.
How long did you work with them?
6 years total.
6 years?
Yeah. So I stayed quite a bit for each role, I think. And I think throughout that process, I grew the business, but also kind of individual executive recruitment as well. But in my 4th year, I think, another large company called the Aligis Group bought Talent 2 out, and then we helped grow out consulting, and that was a great experience for me because I think a lot of leadership training. The owners own the Baltimore Ravens, so it's a very big company out of Baltimore, and so the people and the leadership and how they nurture leaders was something really kind of great experience.
So they sent you right away. So what was your position when they bought the company?
I was the GM of Japan.
Oh, you were the GM of
Japan, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you're the only person that actually went to these trainings they had set up.
Oh, we would bring that next layer down too.
Next layer down.
Yeah,
okay.
They had different training for different levels. So they were really good at people development.
So what would they do? It would be all done in Japan, or would they do it?
Well, we do it overseas. There are a lot of business trips as well. But I think there was one training session that I'll never forget, I think, and they have a counselor in as part of the team as well, and so who I think is the counselor for the Baltimore Ravens as well. And so what they do is when they acquired Talent 2, we had 8 leaders, and my first meeting was 3 expats, a new kind of GM of APAC, North Asia head, and the CFO were from Aligis Group, and everyone else were kind of Talent 2, Singapore, Australia, Japan, China, and there was 8 of us, and
all men.
Oh no, it was a balance. It was
women and men.
Yeah, women and men. Yeah.
Okay.
But
and were you all about the same age?
We were all about the same. I was the youngest, I think.
So you were like in your early 30s?
I was 33 or 4.
Right,
yeah.
Everybody was in their 40s maybe or so.
They're probably early 40s. 40s. Yeah. But what was interesting with that session was they were like, we don't have time to get to know each other as much. So what they had this session where I'm going to tell you all my deepest, darkest secrets, and we'll go one at a time. And it's kind of like what we're doing now, talking about their life and being vulnerable. But
I mean, really being vulnerable.
Really being vulnerable.
Wait, so you had a facilitator. That's the person who you called what?
It was kind of the counselor of the company.
Was this male or female?
It's male.
And so he was like the facilitator.
So facilitator.
He ran it. He told you how this is going to work.
And it was called the hot seat.
Well, how much time? Wait, how long did this program? They would fly you in. Everybody was flown in.
Yeah.
To where?
Well, that trip was Hong Kong.
Okay, so everyone went to Hong Kong. You were in a hotel, right?
We're in our office in Hong Kong. Yeah.
In your office in Hong Kong.
Like a boardroom meeting room. Yeah.
And you're supposed to do this. How long was this session going to take?
It was. I think each of us spent about 20 minutes.
No, I mean it's only one session. You guys only do this once.
One session where we go around the table where each one of us spoke about.
But I thought it was a training of some sort.
Well, that's training as well. But I think what they did was we want to open up and get to know about each other.
Okay, but how long did the whole training take? I'm curious. The reason why I'm curious, because I've done things like this.
Right.
Usually it would take a week, or they might have a 2-week session.
Right.
How long was this session?
Well, I think that itself was more get to know you, and so the training itself was probably about that we'd have different sessions for like a week or so at a time, or 3 or 4 days at a time. Yeah.
Okay, now get into it. Now you get to know you. Everyone's sitting down.
Well, everyone's sitting down, and I think the CEO kicked it off really well. I mean, he would talk about his life, and then he'd be very open about his vulnerabilities, like what scares me, what's this, and literally about 6 out of the 8 people were in tears because we'd ask questions. And I didn't cry, but like I think it's not that it's bad or good to cry, but I think that really kind of opened my eyes on being vulnerable and being open about what you're scared about, and that. But it works because after that 2-hour session, you're not afraid about like what people think of you. They know everything about you that no one else knows.
That's right.
So that was an interesting. I've never had that experience before.
How long do you have to sit in that hot seat?
As long as you like.
Oh, really? So there was no time limit?
No.
You just had to get it out?
Yeah. I mean, if you don't have to talk too much. It's all up to you, which was very interesting. And then afterwards, we'd all go out for drinks and we'd be best friends by then. So that was a very interesting kind of...
That's one of your favorite?
That kind of stuck with me. And that stuck with me. I think I was, up until then, I was more... guarded or
superficial.
Well,
you had your facade.
I had my facade, and I had to make sure that, like, as a leader, I can't look weak. But I think it's more powerful to be kind of vulnerable at times, and so that was one lesson that I remember very clearly from that time. Yeah.
So how many years has it been since you had that? So you're 38.
That's a good question. That's about 8 years.
8 years now.
Yeah, and there was a couple of sessions then at that time.
But were any of them as intense as that?
When there was new people and the team grew,
they do the same thing.
Yeah, they did the same thing. But
so then, how would you react to that? Because now yours is scripted, basically.
Right, well, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, I think it was less of, but it was good to witness the second time around too. Yeah.
But the time you went in, for everyone, it was the first time.
Well, the leaders have done it before, obviously. From the the expats that have come over, that's kind of an allegiance, the company thing, to be able to open up like that.
I thought they just bought these. Okay.
Well, they're the acquiring company. Right. So the 3 expats.
Oh, I see. Okay, so the people that already belong to their company.
Yeah, so they're used to that across. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
It was interesting.
Like I said, I've been through those kind of trainings, and they're always very interesting.
It is very interesting.
And insightful.
Yes.
All right, so tell me after that, then what happened from there when you decided to leave them?
Well, I think, so the focus was for me to step away from day-to-day personal executive recruitment and just grow the company. And I think that was great from learning and everything for a couple of years, but I missed the game. I missed the craft of executive search myself.
You weren't doing it. Oh.
They wouldn't let me.
You weren't talking to anyone.
Well, I was still talking to them, bringing clients in, but I think I couldn't physically help as much.
You had to hand them off.
I had to hand them off, and that was okay for a period of time. But then I missed the game of executive recruitment. So, and then at the time I had an outside investor that was it's around the time where I separated with my wife, and I wanted to have. I wanted to do something on my own as well, and so a good friend of mine said, "Well, I'll put in some money, and why don't you start your own executive search firm?"
And he just be a silent partner.
A silent partner. He helps out. He still to this day helps out on kind of the back office, finance, and operational side, and it was a significant amount of money too. It's like if I'm going to build it, I don't want to be just myself and then eventually grow 2 or 3 people. I'd like to build a company, and I think the direction my company was going was more contracting versus we were more executive search. It's kind of a field of dreams analogy. If I build it, I thought my people will come. And so I decided, me and my kind of business partner at the time, who was my kind of number 2 at Talent 2, we decided we wanted to make this move. We didn't know how to do this because I was the boss of Japan, and so so I went to my boss and we were honest to him and said, look, I think it's time that I step away and I want to start my own firm, and got his blessing. And then I honored the 1 year kind of non-compete clause and everything.
What did you do during that 1 year?
Well, we built it. We built the...
just the idea.
Well, we built so I left in April, and then I think word had got out, so he kind of knew that I was leaving, and my Arlo Brown, who's my co-founder of Evangel Group, my current company, so we got a blessing for both of us to leave. And so we kind of took the next 6-9 months to build the company up, get an office,
staffing,
and everything kind of set up, and we went out there to start hustling and getting our accounts and everything else.
But you said you respect the 1 year, so you waited for a year.
Yeah, waited for. I guess the clause was 6 months.
6 months, okay.
Sorry, it was 6 months, but it was February 25th is when I left, 2016, and then we had 9 people join us in January of 2022. 2017. That's right. Yeah. And here we are.
What was that feeling? I mean, how did you start thinking about what you were doing?
Well, it was great. I mean, I think it was tough, obviously, but I think that grind of starting in, we started at, I think the word got out a little too early to my boss, so we weren't quite ready to leave at the time, but there's never a good time for that kind of discussion. So we started off in Azerbaijan in Starbucks.
Right.
And Starbucks became a bit too expensive every day. We went to Jonathan's instead. And then we catch up there. And then we were still negotiating the investor financing. So then once that was settled, we got a Regis, and then we're now down the street, right next in the Mitsuoka show. On the 4th floor, but
now, I know your dad had to help you in some of this.
Well,
there's too much talent to leave the waste. Come on.
Yeah, well, he has helped, not necessarily specific for this company as much, but he's helped throughout his ways, and he has his.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great sounding board.
I think so.
Yeah, but I think. But he's got his own opinion. So I think...
which he taught you to have.
He taught me to have. So I'll take I like to take bits and pieces of everyone's kind of ideas and decide what's best for my own. Yeah.
By the way, how is your father and mother doing? How are they doing?
Very well, thanks for asking.
I haven't seen them in a while.
Yeah, no, they live out in Tamashi, so they don't come in as much as well. But they're doing well. They're doing well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope to see him in January because we're going to have a meeting at the Tokyo Club.
Well, actually, I think next Monday he's speaking at ACCJ. Kind of.
I don't do anything at the ACCJ.
Okay, yeah.
Is he's still a member?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
And so I think him and Jasper Cole and I think Patrick Newell, they're doing the ST.
You remember the ACCJ?
I took a little break this year because there was no event, so I haven't really been part of it the last couple of years. Yeah,
it's a great organization.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. A lot of good connections.
Yeah.
So what do you see for the future? I mean, first of all, how has COVID affected you?
Well, I think March last year to June, I think it was for everyone. I think it was a beat down a bit. I think it was like the uncertainty of like everything just stopped. I think is it going to end? What's going to happen? And not just kind of business, but so that was a big effect at the time. And luckily, I think throughout the end of last year, as the business started going relatively well. And this year has been kind of again, luckily it's been very good for us this year. Yeah.
Were you able to maintain all of your staff, or did you have to?
We maintained all of our consultants. We had to let go of a couple of contractors, but I think. But now we're at that kind of stage of we're now understaffed. And
how many people do you have now?
We have 11, including myself.
11,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So you need to expand that now.
We do need to expand that now in various different verticals and everything. So it's exciting times. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you see for the future besides expanding?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, I think we're at that because last year and a half was one survival and one how do we maximize on our people. And now we're at a point where I think our people are doing very well. How do we grow? So we're putting together a business plan for next year.
So you still have a partner. Your partner stayed with you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So me and Arlo, and we've kind of grown this business to where we are now. Our investors' debt's now cleared, and so we're now kind of okay. How do we want to grow? And that's kind of the discussions that we're having over the next. We have a we're going to Kyoto with the company kickoff year-end thing to have a little brainstorming of the direction that we want to go with the company.
No. Well, you make sure you keep us informed.
We'll
have to do a couple more of these. All right. Any parting words you'd like to leave with the podcast audience?
I don't have any parting words, but I definitely. Well, first of all, I mean, thank you. So, I mean, it's been great to have a chance to talk to you. You've been inspirational to my life in a lot of ways, because I think, to your point, I think I was 6 or 7 when I first met with you, and I always remember I can.
But you can't do a forward roll, right?
I used to be able to.
See, the thing is, I tell people all the time, I'm not trying to teach your kids the skills. If they learn the philosophy, the skills will be there forever.
100%.
If they really want them.
Yeah, exactly. And so that philosophy really has stuck with me. So that I really appreciate. And I think the fact that we get to talk like this now, 40 years later, I cannot. Yeah.
If we ever would have thought that, when I was taking this little boy through and I'm spotting him in the back hands, then he'd be a full-grown man with kids of his own, a son of his own. Yeah. Are you going to have more kids, you think? I'm sure that's the wrong question.
No, that's all right. That's okay. I'm not sure. I haven't really thought that. Yeah. But no, one's enough for now. Yeah. It's a handful.
Well, I want to thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Yeah.
All of you watching this podcast, remember to press like, subscribe, and never forget, it's all unknown. Keep reaching for the stars, and you're too blessed to be stressed.